toward the very end of 2015, Congress passed an omnibus spending package. They've been doing a lot of that lately at the end of the year when it's crunch time. They lump a lot of stuff together, budget solutions, tax solutions, and some substantive solutions that we're going to talk about. And they throw it together in one really large piece of legislation, don't have much debate, quite frankly, and then vote and run out of town. And then they all get on the news and congratulate themselves over how well they worked together and what a great job they did, and isn't it great that the system's not dysfunctional anymore? Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. Yes, it's good that they do pass these things so government can stay running. Yes, in this case, it's good that they solved the problem before they had to shut down government over the debt limit. And yes, it's good that these bills get votes from Republicans and Democrats. These are all good things, and I think we have to say they're headed in the right direction, at least to that extent. But I still think the system has a long, long way to go. And to me, these omnibus bills are really symptomatic of the problem of the system. It shows that they're not able to deal with solving problems the way they're supposed to. And it shows that under the pressure of a large package of bills, of one bill, one omnibus bill, which is thousands of pages, to go back to Congresswoman Pelosi's comments when Obamacare was voted on, no one had read it yet. I don't think any of the people voting on this stuff have read these things. So yes, the Republicans and Democrats are voting on it, but there also means that none of them have read it. So if none of them have read it and they don't really know what's in the package other than the sound bites that their staff has handed them, or other than the press releases that they're putting out so they can go home, for Christmas with their families, I'm not quite sure the system's working the way we want it to work. So we're going to take a look at the whiteboard and talk about some of the things here that are troubling me about these omnibus bills and the 2015 bill in particular. So first of all, again, we have an omnibus spending package, which means that this huge package dealing with $1.15 trillion. And as I mentioned earlier, 2,000 pages that I'm willing to bet almost none of the people that have voted on this have read. Now, what this does is replace what is supposed to be 12 different appropriation bills. For those of you that saw an earlier segment we did on the appropriation process, and you can go to our YouTube channel and check on it again at noneoftheabove.us. Noneoftheabove.us is our YouTube channel. Find the whiteboard segment where we talk about the budget process. Now, with the budget process, the way it's supposed to work in today's Congress, there's 12 appropriation bills that are supposed to be passed by the House and the Senate by September 30th. So in this case, what they've done is they have not done the process the way they've agreed to and had 12 separate appropriation bills, which then each get their own debate, each get their own framework and discussion, and then each are passed on time. So they've taken what should have been 12 separately passed bills by September 30th and lumped them into one ginormous bill of 2,000 pages. So again, the process is not working in the way that it was intended to work. And just again to point out here, this is now being done in December, not September. December, not September. So what happens, again, from my perspective, is instead of doing this over the ordinary course, having the right amount of debate, having the right amount of focus on each issue, transportation, defense, education, and giving these topics the time and the energy and thought they deserve, they're being lumped together in one huge 2,000-page plus package that no one has read and no one knows what's in there. So all these things bother me. I think they're all symptomatic of still a very dysfunctional system. Yes, we're going to give them credit for having passed the bill and having gotten out of town on time and not having the government shut down, but that's about all the credit I'm going to give them right now. Another thing that bothers me very much about these packages is they're also layered with substantive provisions. And for the second year in a row, they have provisions that are protecting the incumbents when it comes to campaign finance and money that's protecting them in their reelection. Appropriation bills are supposed to be about spending. They're not supposed to be about substance. So you can have a bill that spends money on one end, that's called an appropriation bill, and then you can have substantive legislation. The twain is not supposed to meet. It is not the intention of Congress that they meet. In fact, there's rules that they tend to either ignore or tend to override when they take these votes to put substance in the bills. So let's take a look at some of the substance for this year's bill, and then let's take a look at what's really bothering me. So when it comes to substance, there was some language in this omnibus spending package, again, dealing with security checks, which, again, we need security checks. Preventing cyber attacks. We need to prevent cyber attacks. Delaying the Cadillac tax on Obamacare. Again, trying to take an Obamacare fix and stick it into a huge package without discussing whether Obamacare is good or bad. And again, I don't have a position on Obamacare, but I don't want you fixing it in an omnibus bill. Lifting the ban on oil imports. Oh, I wrote imports, should be exports. Sorry, whiteboard, should be exports. We'll kind of white this thing out here. Exports. And then finally, protections with regard to dark money. So let's go back to substance here again. Preventing cyber attacks, absolutely. Let's study cyber attacks. Let's pass legislation. Let's prevent them. Let's not stick it in an omnibus bill. Concerns about, visas and checks on visas and checks on who's coming into the country and whether they should come in the country and it's legal, it should be expedited, on and on and on. We don't take positions on these issues, but the position we take is they need to be debated in the ordinary course, they need to be resolved in the ordinary course, they need to be handled as standalone issues and not stuck in 2,000-page omnibus bills. Obamacare, if it needs to be fixed, fix it, but have the debate in due course, in the proper fashion, and then solve it in the proper fashion. Don't stick a fix to a bill without debate in a 2,000-page omnibus package. Worst of all, dark money protections. The poster child for incumbency protection is campaign finance reform. Everybody wants campaign finance reform. It's critical. What they've done in this bill is two things that just are abhorrent, and you may be reading about them. One is we have the Citizens United case, which we've talked about many times, which allows corporations to make contributions. Well, the Securities and Exchange Commission that regulates corporations was going to write rules dealing with disclosure so that we would know when corporations are making these contributions. This bill prohibits that from happening. So in other words, Congress in the omnibus bill has directed the Securities and Exchange Commission to cease and desist, to stand down, to not deal with this issue. Similarly, there are organizations under the umbrella of 501c3, welfare organizations, and the question is, are these organizations doing the right job, or are they sliding over to the political side, and are they protecting these super PACs, and are they, quite frankly, acting kosher? Well, again, in this bill, the IRS has now been directed to not look at this issue, to not look at whether or not these welfare organizations are properly meeting their criteria or whether or not they're sliding over to the political side. And in both cases, whether it's the Securities and Exchange Commission being told to stand down or the IRS being told to stand down, it's all designed to protect dark money. All this money that people want to know where it's coming from. Is it coming domestically? Is it coming foreign? Who's putting the money in? How's it being spent? It's being called dark money. We should not have dark money in our system. We should have transparency. They say we should have sunlight shining on this. And what Congress has done to protect themselves and to protect incumbency is they've snuck these two provisions into a 2,000-page bill that no one read, that they're patting themselves on the back for, but at the end of the day, you're going to wake up and find out that they've done some things here that should not have been done. They've not been done in the way they should have been processed. They should be standalone. They should be debated. And the citizens of the United States are entitled to know what their government is doing at all times. It's part of the way the system is supposed to work. So take a look at this omnibus package. Decide for yourself if you think it was a great thing and all the patting on the back was well deserved, or perhaps that maybe the system's still a little too dysfunctional and a little too many things are being snuck in, and you, the citizen, is really not having your day in court in terms of problem solving.